Throughout this class, I have learned a lot about collaboration, not just how to collaborate with people, but how to collaborate effectively, how to deal with conflict, how to collaborate with families, with different teachers, with regular education teachers, SPED teachers, parents, students, all of the above. So, to be a good collaborator, one of the most important things is to be able to listen and effectively problem solve. So, I need to be able to sit down and listen to my group, whoever I'm working with. Currently, that would be my math team. And we collaborate all the time, and we sit down and we talk with each other. And I believe that I have gained the skills to be a better collaborator now. I will take notes when we are collaborating. I will give some gestures such as nods, or ask questions, or give like summary feedback on whatever they said to show that I'm actively participating. I also try to actively participate more often in these groups. I try to get my voice out there and get out what I want to say as well as making sure that everyone else has an opportunity to speak. And then problem solving is a really big part that I've learned in this class, is not just how to problem solve, but problem solving strategies, why it's important to be able to problem solve, and why conflict is okay. Conflict means that you are collaborating correctly. If everything is just perfect all the time, then it's probably not, because conflict shows you where there's a disagreement and how you can grow as a team. So it's important to have conflict and to know how to work through that. So I think all the strategies kind of have the same general process to them. You figure out what the conflict or problem is, so you find the core source, somebody brings that up, and then you work through it. Generally, you're going to think through different alternatives that you can do to fix that problem or solve that issue. And then you might narrow that down to just a few, and then narrow it down to whatever you want to pick to solve your problem, and then you implement it. And then I think one of the biggest parts that I learned about this that I haven't done before is, after you problem solve and implement that strategy, is going back and reflecting on it and monitoring how it's doing. And it's one of the biggest things that I haven't done before, is once you come to a conclusion, you need to go back and see how that's working. Did our solution work, or do we need to re-collaborate and figure out how to better solve this conflict? Another thing I've learned a lot about is stakeholders. So for me at the beginning, stakeholders was just kind of a general term. A stakeholder, I was just like, is that just families? I wasn't sure. And now in this class, I've learned a lot about who stakeholders are. It's the community, it's the parents, it's the teachers you work with, it's anyone who has an impact in the student's education. And I have learned how to work with them more effectively. I understand that they have like their own perception and where they're coming from, and that their own perception is their own truth, it's their own reality. And so when they come to you with a problem, you have to understand that although that you might not think it's a big issue, they do. So it's important to know where they're coming from and what their role is in the child's education. So people in the community, it's important to understand how they can help the student, how they can help the student grow, and how they can help the school grow overall. And parents are a huge stakeholder, of course, or guardians in a child's education. And we have to understand and appreciate where they're coming from, as in their culture, their language, their home life. We have to understand that everyone comes from a different background. And so what might be culturally acceptable to you might not be to them. And how you email them and what language you use may or may not be offensive to them, or they may not understand it. You need to know what language they speak and maybe get an interpreter if needed, and just make sure that you are being kind with your words, and appreciating, what they're doing for their kid. And then I learned a lot about myself and my interpersonal behavior and other people's behavior. So I think it's important to be able to work with other people, not just your students, but also your team, and your co-teachers. So I have a co-teacher for the first time this year, and I am learning a lot about what it means to work together with her. I have to share my space, share my room, share my lessons, and I've never had to do that before. And so this has been a great learning experience to have this class while also having a co-teacher for the first time, because I want to make sure that we both get our opinion in and we both get time to speak. And then I've also learned a lot about different resources and those resources that I can provide to students and families and my school. I want to take what I learned in this class and give this information to my coworkers and my teachers and my co-teachers and the SPED teachers and just everyone that I work with. I don't want to just keep this for myself. I try to bring everything that I learn each week and bring it up in conversation, get us talking about those things and those different resources, especially with the interviews that I've done with other like higher up admin and stuff and directors and SPED directors. Doing these interviews in my classes it's really opened my eyes to what they do, and then I can share that information back with my team. So overall, I have just learned a lot about collaboration and what it means to be a good collaborator with all different types of people and understanding where they come from. It's helped me grow as a person, and it's helped me understand my own strengths and weaknesses. And so now I know what I need to work on, and I know what I do well with.